Hello everyone, back to you in today's first video doing JMA Friday. As always on a Friday, having a detailed look at the weather for the next month, and this takes us well into June. So we'll see what's going to happen with the Japanese and CFS beach models, or at least what they're forecasting. You can't say, but what they are showing is going to happen, because long range forecasting is always experimental, and it's really pushing the boundaries of what is possible. So we'll do that now. Later on, we're going to have the May ENSO update. I've brought that back to Friday just this month. It's normally released on a Saturday evening, but got loads of updates to do over the weekend. So that's going to be coming up with you around 4 or 5 o'clock this evening, and we'll also be updating Stormwatch today as well. That'll be around 7 o'clock. There's going to be some big thunderstorms over the weekend, so we'll have a look at all detail on that with Stormwatch this evening. Let's get on with our first update. It's JMA Friday. We're going to have a look at the Japanese and CFS V2 models, starting off with the JMA. So this is a 500 millimeter height anomaly flow chart for the next week. These are broken down into weekly periods. We're looking from the northern hemisphere down, so there's the pole just there. That's America over there. Asia is over here, and Europe and the UK is over there. So 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure are being drowned by a jet stream. And on these charts, blue is extrapolating to low pressure, and the brighter colours, sort of yellows, oranges, they are extrapolating to high pressure. So we find that for the coming week, we've got a ridge here over and just to the east of the country. We've got a trough out to the west, and probably bringing up a very warm southerly flow. So this is indicative of the weather we've got right now. Really, a lot of really quite warm weather at the moment, indeed hot for the time of year, and fairly dry as well, but with this trough bringing an increasing influence from the Atlantic, breaking down the ridge, eventually producing thunderstorms, and of course ushering in somewhat cooler conditions. Now we go through to week 2, and this is from the 2nd through to the 9th of June, and this one looks really unsettled. So we've got a deep trough here around the west of Europe. That just looks very unsettled, low pressure dominating, so you'd expect showers or longer spells of rain. The jet stream, I think, has gone a little bit to the south of the country as well, so on the cool side of the jet. So actually that's quite a cool and unsettled pattern there as we're going into the first week of June. However, it looks like we get a bit of a recovery taking place in weeks 3 and 4. Remember, this is a 2-weekly anomaly, so always a little bit hard to decipher these. But it does show, I think, that the trough is stalling there in the middle of the Atlantic. We're probably, in this cream area just here, we're probably raising pressure. What might happen is that the 3rd week is still fairly unsettled, and then the 4th week sees a big build in pressure, something like that. So overall, the 2-week anomaly looks quite weak. But I think this trough in the Atlantic is being pushed back into central Atlantic. We're probably building a ridge up. So as we go further into June, it's probably turning drier and warmer. Let's have a look at the mid-latitude view and see what temperature and precipitation anomalies are showing with the JMA for the next month. So again, we're looking at 500 millibar heights first of all for the next week, going from the 26th of May to the 2nd of June. And we've got British Isles just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it, of course. So for the coming week, we've got the ridge over and to the east of the country, we've got low pressure out to west, and we're doing something a bit like that with the jet stream pulling up the air from the south. Very significantly warmer than average in the week ahead, so temperature anomalies are coming out on the warm side, going up to around 2 to 3 degrees above average, actually, with the anomaly in the next week. But it is more unsettled, perhaps a little bit surprisingly so, given the height anomaly, with precipitation overall coming out above average. And of course, a lot of that is probably going to be down to heavy rain and thunder type conditions, thunderstorms moving up from the south with those very warm southerly winds. Week 2 looked a lot more unsettled. That's the 2nd through to the 9th of June. We've got that deep trough over the UK and the west of Europe too. Precipitation anomalies are significantly wetter than average for that first week of June, and the temperatures are sliding as well. They're still just about on the milder than average side, but clearly there's a big drop in temperature from the first week to the 2nd week, because it looks much, much closer to average indeed. In fact, few places, perhaps Ireland and western parts of the country, coming out a little bit cooler than average for that week, the first week of June. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which is the 9th through 23rd of June, and it looks like there's probably some sort of recovery in the pressure going on. Low pressure coming stuck in the middle of the Atlantic, or being blocked in the middle of the Atlantic. I think pressure is probably starting to rise close to the UK. Temperature anomalies are still not getting back to where they were in week 1, but they are slightly on the milder than average side. Precipitation is still coming out above average, so it is a 2-weekly anomaly. It might be that week 3 is unsettled and then week 4 sees the pressure build starting to take place, something like that. But overall it still looks like fairly unsettled pattern continuing into middle part of June, really, with the JMA. Let's have a look at the CFS V2. So again, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 26th of May through to 1st of June. Identical, really, for the coming week to what the JMA is doing. So we've got this build of pressure over and to the east of the country, high pressure there. Low pressure is out to the west, trying to bring in the jet stream. We're pulling up the air from a southerly direction, so it's very warm, if not hot. But this low pressure out to the west is increasingly becoming influential and starting to break down that ridge. So there is a risk, despite the high temperatures, of some quite heavy rain. Week 2, again, quite similar to the JMA. This is the 2nd to the 8th of June. It looks much more unsettled with the low pressure in the Atlantic winning the battle, bringing in the flow from off the Atlantic. That looks like fairly unsettled start to June with showers or longer spells of rain. Week 3, which is the 9th through to the 15th of June, still quite a lot of influence from low pressure up to the northwest, but the ridge is building more to the south, so the flow is going more southwesterly. I think that's still very unsettled for northern parts of the country. Down in the south, it might be turning a little bit drier and warmer then. And then we move through to week 4, which is the 16th through 22nd of June. I think this is what the JMA is hinting, because this week, the final week, is showing that pressure or above average heights, which is higher pressure, starting to build through the UK and many western parts of Europe. This trough of low pressure is becoming stuck in the middle of the Atlantic, doing something like that with the flow. So it's turning drier and warmer there as we're moving through into the second half of June. So after a really unsettled start to June, it looks like gradually we see a recovery of pressure, bringing drier and no doubt warmer conditions as well. Temperature anomalies for the next week are coming out really warm. Very warm week on the way from the 26th of May to the 1st of June. Week 2 temperature anomalies are also coming out warmer than average. Not quite as warm as week 1, but still fairly significantly above average. That continues into week 3 as well. And week 4 rounds it all off with, again, above average temperature. So a whole month of warm conditions. We're not going to have to worry about the temperatures if the CFS V2 is right. For precipitation, we find that the coming week is a bit drier than average in the north, a bit wetter than average in the south. I'm not sure about that. I will think the storm risk is going to be such that the rainfall will be more towards the northwest, actually, compared to the south and the east. Then week 2 just looks generally very unsettled. So both models are in agreement about this. The start of June is Atlantic driven. Rainfall is above average. And although the CFS is going for quite warm temperatures there in week 2, I would suspect it to be a little bit cooler with an Atlantic pattern than that is showing. Week 3 starts to see that the above average rainfall becomes more centred to Scotland and Northern Ireland, with England and Wales turning a fair bit drier. And then by week 4, we're losing the signal now, as we always do, but we are back to average precipitation. I would have thought with high pressure bridging through the country through that week 4 period, that would likely be drier than average in the end. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. We're certainly starting off very warm. It looks like we're going to have a much more unsettled phase through the first week or so of June. And then as we go further on into June, watching out for recovery in pressure, starting to turn things drier and warmer as we head into the middle part of the month. And there's good agreement actually between both of these models today as to that being the way things are likely to progress. As ever, long-range forecasting is experimental, and these models are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, so they could look very different next week. That's always the caveat that we have to apply with any sort of long-range effort that we do at Gaz Weathers. Right, later on today we're going to have the May ENSO update, see what's happening in the Pacific Ocean in terms of El Nino, and then tonight it's going to be Storm Watch. So come back for that then. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.